Hello, everyone, and welcome to Xperience. I'm super grateful for this opportunity to be here amongst you world-class IT professionals. Despite an unprecedented global pandemic, you've kept our schools running, hospitals, banks, service organizations, grocery stores, all of it running to make our lives as comfortable as possible. It is no surprise to me that IT is being recognized as an essential service worldwide. You are the invisible foundation that we depend on. Please know that we never take you for granted, and we thank you for all that you do for us. My name is Monica Kumar, and I'm a Senior Vice President of Marketing at Nutanix. I've been in the tech industry for about 25 years, and throughout that time, I've seen a lot of transformation, including impact of cloud, automation, machine learning, social, and digital technologies on all facets of work and life. But never have I ever seen this type of speed and need for business transformation. A lot of surprises have been thrown at us in the last many months. We've been tested in so many ways, pivoting thousands of employees to work from home overnight, ensuring business continuity while homes and anywhere become part of this extended enterprise, adopting self-service automation, remote IT, cloud, and all of this while keeping cost efficiency on top of our mind. So I guess the question is, how did your peers navigate these challenges? What are they doing to emerge stronger from the crisis? Well, that's exactly what we'll deliver in today's experience. I hope you take advantage of all the great content we have in store for you. We have IT luminaries and experts that will discuss how they're managing business continuity initiatives and preparing to emerge stronger from the crisis. You'll hear from product and solutions experts with live Q&A sessions. You'll also experience hands-on test drive of solutions that you can immediately put to action. So we have a lot in store for you. Okay, now I'm going to bring our amazing panel of experts. I'm really excited to introduce you to two amazing human beings, industry thought leaders, technologists, savvy businesswomen, empathetic people leaders, and my dear friends, Wendy Pfeiffer, the CIO of Nutanix, and Virginia Gambale, Nutanix Board of Director, former Wall Street CIO, and an investor. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to discuss with you today the way forward for businesses and IT leaders and teams to emerge from this crisis. So let's start with some introductions so our audience can get to know you better.
Sure. My name's Wendy Pfeiffer, and I am the CIO at Nutanix. I also sit on the boards of Qualys and SATA Systems and another group called TechQual. Get into the technology workforce. And I'm so happy to be here, Monica.
Virginia, you're next.
So, from a career perspective, I actually started out to be a concert pianist. But then I pivoted into math and computer science and became a Wall Street CIO. And from there, I moved on to be a Wall Street investor in both venture and private equity. And through that work, I learned how to sit on boards and be a good board member. And so now I sit on a number of public boards and private boards. Over my last 20 years, I've sat on over 20 public and private boards. Right now I'm on 5 public boards in a variety of different industries. JetBlue in the airline space, Regis in the beauty space, First Derivatives and Virtu in the Wall Street space, and one of my favorites, Nutanix. I'm now on the Nutanix board. Very excited.
Thank you so much. That's quite a journey that you've been on. So maybe I'll start with you, Virginia. Of course, we are in the midst of this unprecedented time of our lives. I mean, any way you look at it, right? The way we work, the way we live, the way we connect with people, it's all changing. So, how is all of this impacting people and culture in organizations?
Yes, the cultural changes have been incredible, and I've enjoyed watching this, both from afar as well as being thick in it, deep. The initial period of being all virtual and remote, I saw a fair amount of reticence on the part of participants, employees, leadership, boards. At first, I would see people, zoom in, but have their screen blacked out. And then slowly, those meetings, faces would begin over time to pop up, which was wonderful. And in addition to that, right after that, I started to see this incredible embrace because there were wonderful benefits to be able to work from home, to be closer to family, have more family time. And then there was this realization that as leaders, we need to begin to rethink about our work life and how we go forward.
Yeah, that's really interesting. In fact, I was thinking about the connection between a CIO and work. And what I was reading was Gartner recently published a report which says a CIO is as much responsible for shaping the culture of a company as a CHRO. So think about that, especially as we go through digital transformation initiatives. In fact, Wendy, I want to ask you, so how is all of this changing the IT landscape as a result of, the crisis, as a result of people working from home? What changes are you seeing to accommodate this new way of working?
All, just keen on what Virginia was saying. We have this blend of our personal lives and our professional lives here in our homes with our family members around us, and anything that we to make our lives rich and robust, to make our work environments resilient and productive. Those things, in a way, are tested and magnified here in this new reality. And so, in a way, I'm shining a light on the corporate culture, how we've instrumented our communication, our collaboration, how we've instrumented our business continuity plans, those things sort of writ large into our consumer environments, into our home environments. And
Right. And actually, there's a follow-up question I have on that, Wendy. IT has become this essential worker. We call IT now essential workers, of course, for all the reasons that are very valid. So, how are we enabling these essential workers, our IT folks, to function safely and productively during this time?
yeah, there are a few layers of, as you know, our supply chain has been really impacted globally. And so a lot of the ways that we used to support our employees by, helping them with equipment replacements and so on, that's harder to do, to be self-sufficient. And that includes our IT employees. But secondly, it really matters that we understand the schedules and the challenges around scheduling and life balance. And so what we're having to do is redefine roles, actually redefine our org structure, give people roles that allow them to blend personal productive time where they're just concentrating on their own, with time where they can set schedules, and so they can be more flexible in their home environment. So we're having to really enable a hybrid mode of work and some optionality in everything that folks in IT do. And we're actually going through changes and updates in order to just accommodate folks and make people be able to do their jobs with some joy and with some balance, as well as surviving in this mode where
We've been talking about work life balance forever, and finally it's all come to a head, right? Life and work is now finally all there together, and people are coping with it, figuring out ways to do the right thing by their family while they're also working from home. And I was talking to my friends, and now workplace has become schools, they've become restaurants, they've become social places. It's all the same place. So I appreciate the focus on making sure employees are taking a break, especially your IT employees, and really putting aside time for their families as well while they're fighting all these fires. In fact, fighting fires, one question I have around that is IT is always about fighting fires that need to be put out in real time. And what do you think is the role of automation, this notion of self-service IT, remote IT? And maybe I'll start with you, Virginia. I'd love your perspective on this.
Sure. And one thing I would like to say and comment about the culture and how that then feeds into this topic. We are all separated, but I feel so much closer to my colleagues because they're humanized now. I see their dog or I see their children jump on their lap. And for me, it's broken down barriers with colleagues that make us all part of one.
Yeah. And Wendy, I'd love to hear your perspective. I know Nutanix IT is doing some really cool and innovative things on this front.
We have been big believers, big proponents in automation and machine learning technologies for some time. And we actually spent some time developing a really performant natural language processing tool. And so, that wasn't meant to be a substitute for conversation, but it was meant to be an enabler of helping our employees to access automation that we already had in place that allowed us to be more effective and have more capacity. So today, about 35% of all of our interactions and all of our service delivery is handled autonomously. And, that's just been tremendous as we're all remote. Having the ability to make subtle and profound changes in our infrastructure via code, having the ability to connect with an agent during my time zone without having to have agents, awake in the middle, super helpful and actually respectful to the people in IT as well as to the people who are working during the times that they can. So it's been pretty powerful for us. The other thing that's been powerful for us, this optionality that hybrid cloud provides. So resources are strained. We are able to access services in any cloud and any infrastructure. And folks in their offices and businesses. We used to have that model. Now today we have this model where the network is inside out and people are accessing everything from the edge.
Right. I think you mentioned a couple really important things here, Wendy. One is the role of automation is really helping the human beings. It's an enabler in delivering things with speed and also getting rid of the mundane tasks. So I appreciate those comments. And you also talked about hybrid cloud, which is, I think, what a lot of organizations are now looking at, right? How do we use cloud to do things faster, to do things quicker? I mean, 2 or 3 years worth of experimentation and innovation, all of a sudden, as Virginia, you said, is now being deployed in a month, in 6 weeks, in 2 weeks. So, in fact, I want to ask another question on this whole angle of hybrid mode of working. So, there's hybrid cloud. People are now working in a hybrid mode, meaning working from anywhere. And as you mentioned, Wendy, the network is turned inside out. I mean, it's opened up. So I'd love to hear your guys' perspective on cybersecurity. That's a very hot topic. Virginia, maybe would start with you first.
Sure. Obviously, as you can imagine, in the board circles that I travel in, it is the first question that board members ask when they're on virtually because they did read, a couple of stories in the Wall Street Journal about Zoom and other products. So they are very, very concerned. And some of the explanation of understanding how the virtual world and the hybrid cloud world works is that the new tools embed greater levels of security for and easier for the enterprise to manage.
Also have to monitor for usual things executed differently. And so monitoring is key. Having the ability to deal with both existing threats and new threats. Being able to deal with volume is very important. The volumes of monitoring and that we're doing have increased significantly. And then I think ultimately it's old school cybersecurity, right? You need defense in depth, but defense in depth from those word. And those endpoints, as we mentioned, we've massively increased our attack surface. Also, we're adding one other layer of complexity, and that is as we return to work globally, we mixed mode now. So we have people returning to hubs of our offices that still need to remain secure and performant, as well as people connecting to those folks from those multiple endpoints, and individual employees sometimes working remotely, sometimes working in hubs. And so we're just dealing with volume and the need to monitor. And this is, again, where automation really helps, being able to respond to these, incoming speed is a real key.
Yeah, and I think as you both talk, one thing that's really clear is this notion of extended enterprise is not going away anytime soon, and maybe that's one of the big changes we'll see coming out of this is that we'll have a hybrid mode of working. So cybersecurity will continue to be a very important area for us to focus on. Now, let me move a little bit to a different topic because I know we can talk about technology forever, but I want to now talk about business impact. So, Virginia, I'll start with you. As a board member of many public companies, I'd love to hear your unique perspective on this pretty much unprecedented financial pressure on companies today. So, how do we go forward with these lean budgets?
Well, it's interesting, Monica, because my board portfolio has spanned those consumer-facing businesses which literally have stopped dead in their tracks, right, and have had to shut down completely. And then I've had, on the other side of the spectrum, I've had the financial markets, which are actually, particularly if you're in capital markets and market making, you are exploding in volumes and in, doing well financially. In some cases, companies may have earned in one quarter this past year what they did in an entire year previous to that. So it's an interesting dichotomy as an individual to look at and work on. So the consumer facing companies have really used this time to say, workforce is now distributed. It is, such that we can play with the model of how we use our workforce to also contribute to reducing the cost structure overall. And so a complete revisit of what is your economic model and what is your value proposition and relevance in the market over a period of rebuilding and trying to anticipate the consumer group and how they will work with you in remodeling their appetite for receiving services. In some cases, if you look at it, we all became the supplier, right, in our home, where we were, in some cases, we went to that service provider who provided everything. Well, they don't provide everything now because of different shortages. And so, it begs the question, as consumers, are we going to change our appetite in how we live? And we're going to want to create a curated, consumer model of best in what we want. So massive change, I think, is on the horizon and causing a rethink. I think that the technology and is here for us to be able to support those changes, driven initially by economic need, right? Our country really is starting to step back slowly into recovery mode. We all have to do our part economically to participate in bringing back a strong, resilient, and sustainable model. So that's top of mind for many of the leaders and the board directors today.
Yeah, I think that's really great insights, Virginia. The more I think about it, I think this is really giving organizations a chance to rethink how they're engaging with customers. And are all the things they were doing in the past, were they all valuable? Can they do them more efficiently and get better outcomes for themselves and their customers? So I think this is a fantastic thing to rethink, like especially with transforming processes and engagement with customers. Let me move to the recovery part of it, right? We all are thinking about recovering from the crisis. And I'd love to start maybe with you, Wendy, on how leadership teams are thinking of the recovery today. Does back to work mean recovery the way we did business before, or is it some kind of a new normal? And what's this new normal going to look like?
I think it's all about disintermediation. We are no longer able to rely on middle managers to interpret what we should work. No longer able to rely on office managers to tell us how to work and where to sit. We are dealing with massive optionality, massive personalization, and to bring that back to how they work in the future. Employees expect more choice and optionality, and employees expect also to be more in charge of how they make decisions. Additionally, we're experiencing this sea change in certain sectors. It's extreme. We have whole sectors that are just either changing, being um, wiped out in some cases. In other cases, just have people are envisioning new ways of doing business. I'm thinking about when I go to the grocery store now. There's a different I now use, and they're from a local farm, and those eggs were available all the time during these times of shortages. And although my previous brand is available again, I'm using that local brand. Affinity to them. I have some loyalty. And I think I find that I am more loyal to a few key technologies that have worked well for me during this time. And I care differently about my mouse and I did before. And so I think, there's a chance that we will all forget, but I don't think so, because we've discovered some really amazing new things that we wouldn't have discovered otherwise. So now almost addicted to is that process of discovery and being able to do that on our own for ourselves.
I think that's actually wonderful, a description of what's happening and what the recovery may look like for us. Virginia, would love to hear your thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, it's funny because when I listen to the news, there is a definite sentiment. The world has changed forever, and we all will never go back into our buildings and work the way we worked before. I think that's an extreme. So I do think we will emerge into a hybrid model. I do think we will reevaluate our real estate fixed costs going forward. But I don't think we've, retired into this stage of everyone works remotely all the time, because we are social creatures. I miss my colleagues. I think the recovery will absolutely begin to evolve into more of a hybrid concept. And then we will completely, though, re-examine how we deliver products, what are our most relevant products and services that we're going to be offering, because that has definitely changed, as Wendy was alluding to.
But before we wrap up, I'd like to ask both of you to give your one tip to IT and business leaders in how they should think about as we emerge stronger out of this crisis.
First, we need to be in the business of saying yes and then figuring out how to accommodate that yes.
And for me, there is one major takeaway, but it has two parts to it. I have heard resoundingly over and over again that the communication that has taken place from large to small entities has been incredible during this time of need. Small businesses that never communicated directly with their clientele to large institutions who never really effectively communicated with their employees. That communication is superb. It is strong. And if we've proved that we can do it in this world with this kind of chaos going on, I want us to continue that ability to directly communicate with our constituents and stakeholders. And the byproduct of that communication really promotes efficiency, because when we're not communicating well, effectively, properly with one another, our efficiency goes down and our ability to connect points or move from one state to another is impaired by that. So I think communication is, everyone gets an A+, and I want to see it continue. And I want to see it drive efficiency for all of us.
So thank you, both of you. Really appreciated you being here with us today. And thanks for all the wonderful insights you provided.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Wasn't that fantastic? I'm sure my mom's probably busy tweeting about Wendy and Virginia. And hopefully me too. Love you, Mom. Now, I don't want to stand in the way of amazing content that's waiting for you. So let me wrap up. Times are unprecedented. Perhaps for many of us, we haven't ever dealt with a crisis and public outcry this big that has united the entire world. But we are all in this together. Whether it's work or life or use of technology, focusing on human dignity, empathy, and kindness are core values that will serve us well as we move forward. Please know that we at Nutanix will do everything possible to help you succeed. Thank you so much for joining us and have a wonderful experience today.